What's good people? Immersive here, and hope you're doing all right. It is April here in Florida, beautiful day today, and I kind of just wanted to touch base on what I do for my 9-to-5 job. So obviously I'm a creative, I like to make videos, but my 9-to-5, I'm actually a private jet charter broker, which sounds sexy, and I guess there are some aspects of it that are, but there's also some things that aren't so sexy. So if anybody's looking into going into a career like this, I wanted to at least give you kind of a heads up on one, what the job is, a little bit of what it entails, and what you can expect with the job. So first, let's talk about the job title. What's a private jet charter broker? Can't blame me if it's the first time you're hearing about a job like this. It was the same thing for me when I started maybe about 2.5 years ago. I had no idea what the job really entailed, that this even was an industry that people could get into. Yeah, so just what's in the name, right? So private, obviously it's not open to the public, pretty self-explanatory. Private jet, an aircraft that doesn't belong to you or is not accessible to the public. So that's also pretty self-explanatory. But then when it comes to private jet charter, that's where things get a little bit more interesting. So, a charter is any flight itinerary that is not regularly scheduled. So for instance, a Delta flight or a Southwest flight that's on the itinerary, you can go and purchase tickets for it. Those are scheduled flights, whereas a charter is what they call an ad hoc or an unscheduled flight. So it's something that occurs outside of their normal schedule. If they have one, a lot of private jets don't even have a regular schedule, they only fly charter. And there's various parts or sections for different types of aircraft charters. So if you want a breakdown of that, it's like the federal code, the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, and the FAA is under that. And there's different types of charters, or different parts is what they call. If you want a little bit of a deep dive on that, I'll do my best. I can try to make a video, but make sure you leave a comment so I can know what to post. The other part about chartering is that it demonstrates that you don't own the aircraft. You're essentially renting the aircraft from another party, the actual owner of the plane. And another example of this in a non-aviation standpoint would be if you're chartering a yacht. Say you go down to Miami, you want to rent a boat, you're chartering that boat for the few hours. It doesn't belong to you, you're chartering it. Usually the pilot or the captain of the yacht doesn't own it either. It may know the family or the owners of the boat, but there's many parties that are involved when it comes to charter. When it comes to chartering. So then after those three terms, private jet, charter, there's the broker, and that's where I am, and that's the very interesting component. I, or the company I work for, we don't own any aircraft. We're literally just the middleman or the intermediary. That's the fancy term for it. So that's just a simple definition of a broker, someone that's an intermediary. And what I tell people with what I do in my job is I connect people who need an aircraft with those that have the aircraft. And that's the value of being a broker. I have insider knowledge, connections within the aviation industry on making providing options to the client depending on what their needs are. Some people have a need that's outsized for the plane that they're requesting, and then vice versa. They want a certain plane, maybe it's price point, maybe it's the style, the look of it, but then the amount of people that they need or the amount of money that they need, oftentimes it doesn't match up. So my job is to provide that detail and that information about the various planes that are out there, as well as what options are available, and to match the two of them together. Hey, you need the room?
No, I was looking for somebody at the front desk.
Okay. And then as an intermediary, I bring those two together, those that need the aircraft, those that have the aircraft, and I make the deal happen. So then my specialty is with any group that's 20 passengers or more, and typically those are like a Boeing 737, an Airbus A320, commercial jets. So my full title is a private jet charter broker for commercial jets. The sexy thing about this job is that it's private aviation. These are high net worth individuals oftentimes, or large corporations, and you get access to a side of aviation that you never really see. Most people see the planes flying in the air, they've been to an airport, they know those operations, TSA standing in line. Private aviation, although under that same body of legality, I guess, as those scheduled service flights, there's a little bit more behind the scenes stuff that you actually get to see, and it's really, really cool. The other thing is that it's relatively unknown or misunderstood by a lot of people. So if you like having that level of knowledge that you're just like, they have no idea of how this really works, then this type of job can definitely help you see that. You know, it's fun to, just with the nature of the job, you can just look at a plane that's sitting on the ground and like, I know exactly what that is. Or if you see a certain plane that you've flown before, you're like, oh, I know exactly how many seats are on that plane. I know where that plane's going next. It's just a lot of fun. If you like logistics and problem solving, and if you're an aviation nerd for sure, you definitely love a job like this. Another sexy part about the job is the luxury access. Oftentimes you'll be arranging for car services, custom catering, getting on board some of the aircraft and seeing how the interior of the planes look. Sitting in the seats, I'm sure you've probably seen some LinkedIn profiles or some jet setters on Instagram where they're reclining with their sunglasses on. And put my glass on, putting their nice shades on, just reclining, looking real nice in their private jet. You know, that's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a perk of the job. Also, another perk, if you like to travel, this is definitely a good job for you. You don't travel as much as you would think you would, and I guess that's one of the kind of the caution areas, but you do get to travel a bit. And I'm actually a charter that I put together. They're going to Las Vegas at the end of this month, so hopefully I can bring you along. You can see that journey and see that it can be a lot of fun. So some of the unsexy components, I mean, you're a broker, so you're not the private high net worth individuals, and oftentimes they may not want you to go because this is like for their group, for their family, so you may not travel with them. Sometimes you do get the opportunity, but oftentimes you don't. It's extremely niche, like it's the 1% of the 1% that are typically flying. So finding customers, or finding people that want to do business to do, at minimum a $20,000 flight to wherever, let alone a $100,000 charter for some of the aircraft that I work with or more. It's very, very difficult, and finding that personnel is super tricky, but it can be rewarding at the same time. This job is super sales oriented, so it's about building a book of business. It's about maintaining relationships and customer experience. And that's kind of why I'm here, because I'm adding on to that customer experience. But if you don't care for sales, you don't like being quote unquote salesy, or you just are repulsed by being in a sales role, this isn't the job for you. And then also something that I've noticed, and maybe it could differ from others, but you're limited to the number of aircraft that you can source. When I say that, I mean there's only a finite number of aircraft available, especially here, I'm in the United States, that we can use for what I do for commercial jets. So it can be frustrating at times when you're limited to your options, and at that point it just becomes a race to the bottom because it's commoditized. There are enough brokers around where everybody knows everybody, and they know the main players in the industry. They know the aircraft that people typically go out to, so everybody will be asking for pricing for the same plane for one customer. So you're often just fighting to try to scrap it out, really. So some other things that I like about the industry personally are that it's a very dynamic job. No day is the same. It doesn't matter what's going on. There's always, new aircraft on the market. There's new competitors. There's weather delays. There's passenger changes. There are last minute, unfortunate incidents, like an aircraft may be broken the day of travel. So all of that plays into a very dynamic job. So things are always changing. If you like handling those situations and like I said, the logistics component of this job, this is where you want to be. Also, being out on the tarmac, that's why I've got my reflective vest on. Hopefully I can get access to the tarmac to see the aircraft that we're going to be using today, and to talk to the crew, and just being out there in a kind of restricted area, really. Getting that access is very, very cool. Every time I'm able to get out on the tarmac and hear the roar of the jet engines and see these planes up close, it's awesome experience. And then you get to meet so many different people from wide ranges, different walks of life. And just meeting people opens up new opportunities for you. So if you like just getting out there and talking to people and connecting with people, that really makes a difference. And that's an unspoken part of this job, just the connection aspect. Some things that I don't typically care for the job, you get a lot of no's, and I mean, that's typical for any sales role, but just because it's super niche, you get more no's than you normally would with a sales job. You know, you're dealing with high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals, and sometimes they've either already got an option, they don't have the money, or you'll have to wait a long time for their next request. You get even more no's once they find out how much chartering an A319 really is. And another thing, especially for what I do with commercial jets, successfully booking a charter takes a long time, just because there's so many moving pieces and people want to compare and contrast, and you're spending, you know, 50K, 100K, 300K for a flight. You want to make sure everything's right. So people are super cognizant of price, shopping around, and it's difficult to get that first one under your belt. But once you get a established book of business, it becomes a bit easier, but it's still pretty tough. So if you're liking the content so far, make sure you drop a like, leave a comment. If you want to know how much a ballpark is for a particular charter, reach out to me on Instagram. That's at Immersive, MMERSIVE. I'll do my best to give you some insight there, and then hopefully we can work together one day. All right, so I talked a little bit about why I'm here, because I'm based in Miami, but I'm here in Tampa because I have a charter that's taking place in a couple hours or so, and I wanted to surprise the client. Their son's getting married, so I got some roses. You know, I got something nice for the family, for them to remember me, so next time that they need a charter, you know, they reach out to your boy, and hopefully we can do more business in the future. But it's just the little things, because it's such a commoditized market, you have to figure out how you can set yourself apart. So one, being here, you know, that gives the client the security that, you know, Immersive's working on making this as best of a charter as possible. And then I think the roses are a nice touch as well for the group. These are pretty cool. They're like preserved roses. I'll leave a link of where I got them online, but they're super nice and they stay good for like 3 to 5 years with minimal care needed. So maybe I'll put that link in the description. All right, let's get to the plane. Type of aircraft that I use today is called an Embraer 145. This is a 30-seat configured jet. Typically for the regional carriers, you'll see this in a 50-seat configuration. However, for chartering purposes, and if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Part 135 landscape, make sure to leave a comment below. But this aircraft utilizes 30 seats, and it's perfect for this group. This group is about 20 passengers, so everybody can kind of space out a little bit. And this is all along the smaller side of all the aircraft that I particularly charter for commercial jets. So that's about it. I appreciate you coming along with me as I talk about my 9 to 5 as a private jet charter broker. A lot of work, but pretty rewarding, very cool side of the industry that a lot of people don't see, that I didn't even know existed, you know, a few years ago when I first started. And let me know what you think about it. Let me know your takes. If you know somebody that does something like this, if you have questions about the role, if you'd like to learn more, feel free to let me know. And I appreciate your time. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Threads at Immersive, MMERSIVE, and I will catch you all later. Peace.